Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final session of this major event. I would like to introduce the final keynote speaker, following which I'll introduce the moderator. We're now going to be addressed by the Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research, Professor Dilawer Ala Al-Din. He was appointed Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research in the 6th Kurdistan Regional Government Cabinet in October 2009. And before his appointment, he worked for many years in the United Kingdom as a professor of clinical microbiology and headed teaching and research programs at Nottingham University. He also served on several UK national boards, advising on infectious diseases, and was appointed the Royal College of Pathologists Director of Research and a member of the UK Medical Research Council's Infections and Immunity Board. He's conducted wide variety of research and published many scientific studies, particularly in the field of vaccination against viral diseases. He's developed and directed several master's degree courses and supervised PhD students, and he was an active member of the Kurdish community in the UK lobbying in defence of Kurdish human rights, and wrote opinion articles for various websites and publications. He will be addressing us in just 2 minutes. I just want to introduce our moderator for the final session, who is Gareth Stansfield, who is a professor of Middle East politics at the University of Exeter. His Kurdish research studies fall really within the disciplinary areas of political science and international relations. His recent work has focused on the political developments of the Kurds of Iraq in the 1990s, the formation and activities of the Kurdistan regional government, the wider position of the Kurds in the Iraqi state following regime change in 2003. He is currently researching political developments since 2003. Recently served as a senior political advisor to the United Nations Assistance Mission for Iraq, and he's also acts as an advisor to the UK Foreign Office, Cabinet Office and the Home Office on Kurdish politics and the political situation. I'd like now to hand over to the Minister, and I wish you a very enjoyable and very productive final session. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have the control here? Okay, well, thank you very much, Excellencies and distinguished guests and friends. Might make you feel better to know that I really think that to be the last speaker is a lucky position to be in. You get the most loyal audience, and for the audience to feel better, the best thing comes to those who wait. So I hope we will have an interactive session. I've chosen to, instead of talking about security and a few other issues that you've had 2 days worth of that illustration, I will talk about the process of reform of higher education in Kurdistan. And in that context, I'd like to show you areas where you can seize as opportunities for investing in education in Kurdistan. There's plenty. I tell you, they do say that in the UK, the second biggest income generator is actually higher education. So if you think that higher education is just to educate professionals for the business, actually it's a business in its own right. So I'll take you through the core parts, but I'll go and give you some examples. Back in November, when we started the new cabinet, I submitted a document, and I called it a vision document or strategy for the next 5 years, which was endorsed on the 7th of December. It might have been the first strategy document about higher education in Iraq. Essentially, appreciating the fact that what we inherited from Iraq, the old Iraq, a century-long history of education system, which started very well and mutilated in the 70s and 80s. It was a dysfunctional system, because it was not really sustainable in terms of producing quality. And of course, the market need and the labor market need, with the professionals that were educated and trained in the universities of Iraq, were not harmonious. In other words, we had two types of unemployment, and still have, in Iraq. One is the numbers, the number of professionals we educate in universities and pour them into the labor market, and they don't find enough jobs. That's one. But another is actually the people we train, say civil engineers, oil, you name it, but actually we don't train them on the latest technology and the state of the art and the very areas that investors from outside come in and require. The skills that we give them are the skills that old Iraq needed. That is a century old. So these people are even more sophisticated unemployed people, because they are well trained in the right area, go to the market, but are not employable by the very investors who bring in the latest technology. So we need to link our education and training to the labor market. And more importantly, the heart of our strategy and reform is actually the word quality, because we had the challenge in Kurdistan over the last 2 decades of actually meeting the demand of the numbers, sheer numbers of students coming to university. To accommodate them, we needed to have the capacity, or to have the ability to absorb the numbers. But actually, what is now needed more than ever is quality. So we are now, as a government, switching from the emphasis on quantity to quality. It couldn't have been done 10 years ago, it couldn't have been done even 5 years ago. But it is just right now, because we are now opening up to the world as well. And we're here in this conference is a very good example why we need quality. So that's the heart of our strategy and vision. Taking these into account, we had to design a roadmap. A roadmap that, to take this challenge of transforming the system that we inherit from old Iraq, it's an enormous task. But we had to start from somewhere. But the road, we knew, would be bumpy. It would be long. Sometimes you don't know if it leads anywhere. And it can be rainy at times. But you have to start from somewhere. So we got all the information, and here is putting the vision into practice. We had to design or define milestones. Each milestone was a challenge on its own. It proved to be a fight of its own. But this is not a reason not to do anything. We were not looking for good reasons for not doing it. We had to put up with the fight, we had to be up to it, and that's really what it proved. I was the first and maybe the only minister who started life in the government with a crisis. And this crisis actually taught everybody, including myself, that if you focus on quality, if you think long term, even the very people who didn't like the crisis will be the beneficiaries. So the way we approached the higher education reform was via 4 different approaches, 4 different aspects. We had to tackle our courses. So the heart of the objective was quality assurance. We had to tackle research, which is lagging behind. We had to link our scientists and departments to centers of excellence. The heart of administration was reforming the way we run our universities. At the moment, they are all administered, micromanaged by ministers, where you have the minister who's actually the ultimate decision maker. It's absolute dictator. And if you simply get rid of the powers that ministers hold, you make the heads of universities dictators. So there's no mechanism of self-governing and self-auditing. So we had to change that administration and establish some social justice. And I'll take you through these one by one. And ensuring quality meant that we had to work on, at least to start with, we had to work on some nitty-gritties that are actually examples on the ground.